So most engineers think that becoming 10x devs means grinding harder, learning every framework, or writing cleaner code. But what if I told you that the real 10x move was to stop being a developer altogether? Now, I know what you're thinking. That's crazy, but stay with me, because in the next 9 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact mindset shifts that have helped engineers leave their 9-to-5 jobs, start their own software businesses, and scale it all the way up to $10,000, $25,000, even $50,000 a month using the same exact skills that they have already had. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Bago, and I've built and scaled my companies from scratch to multi-7 figures, and I've helped other devs just like you start their own high-ticket businesses. And across all of that, I noticed something that most people never really talk about. The engineers who truly break out, they don't just write better code. They've actually rewired the way that they think. They shifted how they see their role, their value, and their path to financial independence altogether. And if you yourself want to escape the 9-to-5 to maybe start a business and build a career on your own terms, then these rewires are where it starts. So without further ado, let's get started with the first rewire. You see, when most software engineers see a Jira ticket, the first thing they'll think of is as follows. Okay, what's the bug and what's the fix, right? But the 10x engineers that I've seen, the ones who actually get paid more, promoted faster, are trusted with leadership roles, and down the line become founders, they see on a much deeper level. They ask questions such as, why does this ticket exist? What systems failed to create it in the first place? And what can I design such that this never happens again, right? Because your job isn't to just close tickets, it's to make tickets irrelevant from the get-go. I remember one time working with a dev who pretty much shipped less code per line than any of his teammates, but he built internal tooling that removed hundreds of hours of manual QA per month for the internal team. And of course, he wasn't the fastest coder, but he was definitely the highest leveraged one. So here's the key rewire. Before solving any ticket, you need to ask yourself, what would have prevented this ticket from existing in the first place? Remember, you're not a janitor cleaning up bugs. You're the architect redesigning the entire floor plan. So think of systems, not sprints, because that's how you actually 10x. But here's the funny thing. Even the most perfectly designed system is going to be useless if you don't know what it is for, which actually brings us to the next rewire. And honestly, from what I've seen, this one separates the coders from future founders. Rewire number 2. A mid-level dev knows how a specific function might work, but a 10x dev knows why that function exists in the first place. And this is where most software engineers actually get stuck. They operate purely from inside the code. But the engineers who break into leadership roles or launch their own $25,000 a month or $50,000 a month consulting businesses, they think like founders. More specifically, they ask questions such as, what customer problem does this function solve? How does this specific function or feature affect monthly recurring revenue, customer retention, or customer churn? And why are we integrating, or why are we making this function now? Why this specifically? And what's the upside? In short, business context is your leverage. Every time I've hired engineers, the ones who rose the fastest weren't necessarily the best coders. Rather, they were the ones who actually connected their work directly to the business revenue. So here's the mental model you need to have, the rewire. Tie every single line of code back to the business, which by extension means to the customer. So anywhere where more money is made, more users are attracted, or there's higher retention, less churn, you get the point. You do this, and you don't just become a better engineer, you become an actual strategic asset to the company, be it your own or the one you're working for. And that's exactly who down the line gets funded, promoted, or paid over $10,000 a month to consult other businesses. But even when you understand the why behind the work, there's still another test you have to pass. Can someone else pick up your code and run with it? Because that's what we're going to be talking about next, and it's where most mid-level devs actually fail. So for our third rewire, we need to understand that the truth is you're not writing code for a compiler as a software engineer. You're writing it for other human beings. And 10x engineers understand that. They treat code like a product. It's designed with empathy. It's built to scale. And it communicates clearly. Because great engineers don't just think in syntax. They actually think in storytelling. because your future teammates, code maintainers, maybe even your own replacement down the line, they are going to read your code 10 times more, 20 times more than you wrote it. Reason being, you're the one who wrote your own code, you know what it's about. So this is the rewire you need to have. Every time you commit code, you need to ask yourself, would a junior engineer understand this? Because this one mindset, this one rewire, turns messy PRs into actual onboarding tools which can later become SOPs. It turns complexity into clarity, and it turns you into the kind of dev that actually managers fight to keep, or better yet, the kind of dev that clients pay premium retainers to simply have access to. Because when you start your own business, clean code isn't a flex, it's a sales tool. But remember that clarity isn't just about how the code reads, but it's also about how the code ships. And if you want to move like a founder, or even just keep up with the now most recent AI speed startups, you need a new relationship with speed. So let's rewire that next. In today's world, most devs think that fast equals dangerous. But the fastest engineers that I know are not reckless. In fact, it seems like they've mastered risk. I want you to think of a scenario. Small PRs, feature flags, test coverages, clear rollback paths, and a plethora of other things. Because these are all what 10x devs do. They don't just move fast. They make moving fast safe, right? In startups, I've seen entire launches fail because engineers shipped way too slow. They were trying to perfect every single little detail. Meanwhile, consultants that I've trained ship MVPs in days and then get paid over $10,000 per engagement because they know the fundamental truth. Done and reversible beats perfect and delayed. So this is the rewire that you need to have. Speed equals low cost of being wrong. Before any release, you need to ask yourself, if this goes wrong, how easy is it to recover or reverse it? Because once you master that, suddenly you're not just fast anymore, but you're actually trusted. And trust is what will unlock big clients, big raises, and of course, big exits. But the real unlock in all of this, past the systems thinking, the business context, the clean shipping, because all of these still assume you're being told what to build. But what happens when you flip the script entirely and you become the one making the decisions? And that's the final and most powerful rewire. If you are a senior developer and you're still asking yourself, what should I build? You are leaving money on the table. Because 10x engineers don't just ship features. They don't ask what I build. They decide what's worth building and what's not. They ask questions such as, why do we need this? Or do we even need this? Can we solve this with, say, Airtable or Zapier instead? Is there maybe a pre-existing solution? Do we have to reinvent the wheel? What's the actual ROI here? What's the return on investment? I remember one of the engineers that I was coaching went from being stuck in Jira ticket land to making over $50,000 a month after 3 months, simply by reframing his value from a typical builder to a problem solver. No new skills, just an entirely new lens on how he viewed stuff. So this is what you need to keep in mind. You need to ask yourself, what is the smallest test that we can run or I can run without writing code? Because that's what separates engineers from founders. And it's also why you don't need a new idea to necessarily start a business. You simply need a better lens on existing problems and the confidence to actually solve these problems simply. So I want you to let that actually sink in. Because once you learn to think this way, you stop being just another engineer, just another cog in the wheel, and you start becoming a founder in disguise. You don't need to become somebody new. You already have all the skills you need to escape your 9 to 5. But what you do need is a new way to use them. Because these rewires don't just make you a better engineer. They set the foundation for launching, say, a $50,000 a month business that replaces your job completely. And I know that that's possible because I myself have done it, and so have countless other engineers that I've worked with inside Code to CEO. So let's recap everything. Remember, systems over tickets, business context is your leverage. Think of code as a product, so keep the customer in mind. Fast means managing risk, and you're paid to decide. And remember, these aren't just tips. They're actual transformations, actual rewires. And if you specifically want to take these same exact transformations and rewires and build a $50,000 a month business using your existing skills, just like John, then you need to click the link in the description below. And please, drop in the comments below, I'm going to read every single one, which mental rewire you need to apply right now for your situation. As always, thank you for watching and have a good one.